fucking mad D&D game and make it happen, Captain.
Right on. They totally caught the. We're live. They totally caught the last part of your sentence. Hello, everybody. This is Mischievous Heathen doing us something a little different today. I got my Nerdgasm bro Corey with me. Say hi, Corey.
What up, everyone?
Uh, you may not know this due to my other activities here on YouTube, but I'm an avid gamer of all types. One of which is I've been a long time tabletop art gamer. I played all types of games, but mainly I play Dungeons and Dragons, which is kind of what we're gonna approach with the Nerdgasm stuff. Yeah, we're gonna talk about everything gamer related, not necessarily tabletop stuff, and hopefully the people that are watching eventually won't think too poorly upon me for that.
I can't imagine how they could.
Again, right? Um, so my nerd bro Corey here. You had come to me and you had a question. You tell us a little about your gaming background as far as D&D goes, so the audience can get at least a grip of what's going on.
Right. So, I mean, in gaming in general, I mean, I've been gaming since I was very, very young, like at least 11 or 12 years old. And I was very, very into, RPGs like MMOs and stuff, like World of Warcraft being the most notable one of all. Played for multiple years, but never really got into like tabletop gaming, although I was aware of it. And I always had an interest in playing D&D. I never actually took my interest to the next level, if you would. I always was thinking to myself, like, man, like if I could only just find some people to play, or maybe I should just, run my own game or something. But of course, not knowing anything about it, that's kind of a daunting task to undertake. So I never really, did anything with those desires. But when I met Matt, and Matt's a mutual friend of ours, by the way, everyone. So Matt is one of the people that plays in our D&D group, otherwise known as, well, he goes by Alithian, or in my game he's gonna have a new character. I won't disclose his name yet, so you can find out for yourself, Lee. But but yeah, he introduced me to the D&D group, and as soon as he told me, hey, you want to play, I was on board. Like, and I mean, you do a really job like captivating us like as a party and our story. Oh, I see the dog. The
Oh,
dog.
there's a. Oh yeah, say
He's
there's
like
a.
just in the camera. Everyone, this is the best part of the video. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of like my D&D background. I've been playing D&D bi-weekly, weekly, sort of, for the past, I don't know, how many months has it been, Lee? Like 6 months or more.
More.
So yeah, so it's probably, you know, closer to 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that I know a thing or two now, and so I've taken it upon myself to start my own game. Lee has inspired me and motivated me, so yeah, he worked his magic, and now I'm fucking sitting behind the DM screen on the table every once in a while, which is really really fun and really really cool. So fucking yeah, this is like the wizard of DMing here, folks. If you want if you want to know how to play a captivating game of D&D, then just ask this man. And that's, I think, in part, an aspect of this is to share the wisdom of Lee.
And I will direct anyone that asks me questions to Mike Merles with Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for that. For those of you that don't know, I have been gaming for the better part of 3 decades. I am very old. I think if I'm being told, much older than I appear. So
Yep.
I'm 39, but I've been gaming. My earliest memories of gaming was around 7 or 8. So I was gaming around when second edition was a big deal. And if anyone is as old as me, they remember the early '80s where D&D was thought to be some gateway to Satanism, and there were a lot of controversy back then, and there was
Oh
like
yeah.
movies and people. I had friends who had parents who would burn their books in the backyard, and there were all sorts of misconceptions and stuff, and obviously, and the only thing it never. Obviously, that's untrue, right? But
Yeah, of
the only
course.
thing D&D provided for me, other than an outlet for my creativity, was an extra long bout of virginity. So it's I've been
Hey,
playing.
there's a direct correlation between playing D&D and not getting STDs, folks. Like,
Right.
come on,
On
get
the
on board.
plus side, I got really good at masturbation. So
Yeah,
there's that.
exactly.
I wouldn't be
That's
nearly as
every
good at
talent.
masturbating now if I didn't play D&D. But I played all sorts of games.
Mm.
I can't even count how many games I have played.
Uh-huh.
Various incarnations of Star Wars, Aliens from the movie series, everything in between. Warhammer, um, more games that I can count. Indie games. So I've been a gamer from way back when, and when I was younger, when I wasn't actually playing, I was actually creating them, or at least attempting to. So it's in the blood, and I just been gaming ever since. I was recently brought out of retirement, actually. So I had retired officially for about a year, and then I came back. It was fifth edition, and now unfortunately I'm hooked.
The edition is amazing, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't a fifth edition specifically. What it was I got back in and decided to play in a game where the DM was really horrible,
Oh yeah.
and there's something that burns inside of me at that point that goes,
Mm.
"This fucking guy's horrible. I can do better than that." And the next thing I know, I'm running a game of my own, and here I am.
Yep.
So long,
Long story
long
short,
short, long story
the
short,
uh, the king
I
is
gamed and
back.
shit. I gamed and shit. I would say about that, but so Corey, being a new DM, you're in our, obviously, as you mentioned before, in our existing game group, and all that. So, and we've had several talks, on the phone and this and that outside of Google and all that good stuff. And
Right.
you had a bit of a question, or at least you know,
Yeah.
not a conundrum is too strong of a word, but a question.
Well, if you're a dungeon master, and even if you're using a published campaign, oftentimes you're gonna run into storytelling blockades, or just you want to tell your story in an effective way that seems smooth and it's not like kind of shoehorned in. So at least I do. So when I when I have like ideas for what's going to happen next in mind, I always wonder or ponder, how do I get the ball rolling in a way that it just feels natural and it kind of develops in a natural sense. And I think, just thinking about on it myself, I think a lot of that has to do with good dialogue, layering the dialogue with hints and stuff, and not, just creating an NPC with like an exclamation point above his head, but at the same time, like, letting the players kind of figure it out. But the other thing that I really wanted to know about was, how do you really kind of, and you could do this rather easily if you didn't care, but how do you tie in a new player when a campaign's like already running? I mean, you did this for me and for my buddy Planbeck, but like, I guess I'm trying to figure out a way to tie in Matt's new character to the narrative without it seeming super shoehorn. And I've been talking about it with him, and we have some ideas, but of course, I don't know where your guys are going to be when the time comes he's able to play with us. So
Right.
I have some ideas, but those ideas could get thrown for a loop if you fucking happen to go do something else, over the course of the next session. So
Right.
it's kind of an open-ended question, but I guess if I had to sum it up, it would be, how do you create narrative tie-ins, plot hooks, if you will, to bring in new players without alienating them, or making it seem like it's all just kind of
Right.
shoehorned in. You know what I mean?
Right. I've been in many campaigns where the you walk into the town or the village, right? Excuse me,
Mhm.
and they're besieged with goblinoids, and you walk in, you're like, "Oh, are you fighting goblins? So am I. Let's go together." And
Right.
that that kind of thing. Um,
Mhm. And suddenly they're best friends for life.
right. And suddenly, we go marching down the path together, killing stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
taking their and taking killing things and taking their stuff.
Yeah.
So ultimately, when you look at a plot hook, right?
Mhm.
The first thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the goal of this plot hook? So if you think of your story in terms of, let's say, like, have you ever been to New York or you seen the
Yeah.
subway maps of New York?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. So all games, whether they're moduled or otherwise, are written by yourself, sort of run along that path, right? There's many ways to get to the same outcome, unless you're playing a complete sandbox, and then then you go wherever.
Right.
But mostly in a module, it's like you have one or two or three ways to get to sort of the same goal, not necessarily the same path.
Yeah.
So it's a little different when you're running a module to bring in a player because you're able to dictate the pacing by which you can bring in the other player if it's your own stuff. So it may be a little more challenging to you if you don't want to make it contrived or whatever. But um, first and foremost, it would be timing, right? So that
Hmm.
um, the timing of bringing in the other player may not be conducive to where you are in the game. And I believe
Yeah.
we're in a dungeon type atmosphere now where the new character can't just pop in and
No,
you
of
know
course not.
he can't be the prisoner. Oh, we rescued you, like that kind of thing. Um,
That'd
and
be a
the
little
second,
demeaning.
right? I mean, super cheesy.
Hmm.
The second major thing I would say is the other player's background. So if you're going to allow, in this case,
Hmm.
well, first and foremost, you have I don't know if you've done a lot of live chats, but you want to avoid using people's real names. So,
Okay, got it. Excuse me
um,
for that.
the other player that's coming into the game, their background should be conducive to where we're at or what we're doing. And I would work with the player to do that. So if they write some super generic background or something that doesn't have anything to do with anything really, you
Hmm.
should talk to that person and make sure that um, you know uh, for a good example, where we're at in this dungeon, when we leave, you're going to know where we're at, whether we're in the town
Oh yeah,
or out in the woods or something, right?
yeah.
So if you want to bring the other player in as soon as possible, you might want to look at having that person start in that area, obviously, right? Um,
That's some thought that's gone through my mind, and um, I had you know a couple ideas to tie him in that seem to make sense to me. But again, I don't know exactly how far you guys are going to
listen,
progress in one way or another, and whether or not that plot string that I intend to use may even be usable in this sense.
right.
But I'd like to
The
think that it would.
Well, the other way, I mean, are you looking to tie? Are you looking when you say a tie-in or a plot hook? Are you looking for a plot hook or a tie-in in a way to bring him into the group specifically,
Yeah,
or okay, so not necessarily his background story, how it ties into the main plot necessarily.
yeah. No, I've thought about that quite a bit, but yes, you're right. It's more how do I create a plot hook or narrative device to make their goals aligned to the extent that where he's like, as a character, like, yeah, let's travel with these people. They're great. Like
Right.
that's
Well, for those of you, that will be listening in the future, my friend here is running the Curse of Strahd module. I say
mm,
module because I'm old, and module is what they were called. Um, but I don't know what are they called nowadays. Adventures.
uh, I guess it's a campaign or yeah, I'd say it's like an adventure.
All right.
I'm not sure what it's called specifically, but it doesn't need to be anything too confined. I mean, we'll call it what we want. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a habit of calling it a module only because, like I
That's
said, it's an
fine.
old school term. But modules back then, this is exactly what they did. They released a quote unquote adventure, but it was
Yeah,
modulistic. You can
yeah.
play it and play the next one, kind of thing.
Hmm.
But but you're looking to take it a little bit out of the module per se and bring a little
Yes.
more life into the game itself because modules can have a tendency to be static and a little bit on rails or a lot of bit on rails.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that really attracts me to this campaign and running it this way is it has the potential to be very, very open ended. It is very much so open, but it's open in the sense that if you were to navigate to the wrong part of the world too soon, y'all get fucked up. So
Right.
it's on rails in that sense, but um, you could definitely play it however you want. I mean, for fuck's sake, you could go to Castle Ravenloft as soon as you enter the world. Will you survive? No,
Probably
but
not.
Yeah, but you could, and I mean, there's like a dozen or so areas that are in the game that are significant, that are waiting to be found, explored, etc. Um,
We're gonna,
go ahead.
I'll say, we're gonna farm peasants until we reach level 10.
Yeah, definitely farm the peasants because
Farming peasants.
they have like a 0.5% drop rate of epic loot.
Epically.
You might get
I.
your item.
By the way, I feel horrible, dude, but I'm taking that cloak. And
Oh, that cloak of protection. Oh yeah,
we
dude.
found a cloak of protection in the adventure, and I had just recently got a silvered short sword, and then the next bout of loot, we got a cloak of protection, which I'm probably going to take that too, simply because as I'm playing a melee ranger, and quite frankly, having a 14 AC is not conducive to survival. So,
No, it's not. So having 15 would be better, and that +1 to saving throws is also pretty fucking amazing.
oh, it's a +1 to saving throws? No shit.
Well,
Oh,
I'm looking at
sweet.
I'm looking it up right now, and it says, I mean, this could be incorrect. I'm not looking at the actual PHP or anything. I just googled, D&D 5e, cloak of protection, and it gave me this page, and it says, uh, you receive +1 to your AC. Oh, well, see, this page is just saying that, but then this other page, well, they might be a bit generous with their bonuses, but it just says, uh, let's see, this is actually proper English. However, each plus of a cloak of protection betters armor class by 1 and adds 1 to saving throw die rolls.
Sweet.
I don't
Like,
know. We'll have to double check that, but yeah,
I like his
but either
assessment.
way, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and that's not even. I haven't even got studded leather yet, but that's beside the point. We can
Yeah.
talk about my ranger next, but
Oh yeah, I'm done with that.
But as far as plot hooks go, ultimately, um, the the shorter, in my experience, all the players have to have a bit of a suspension of disbelief once a new character is introduced, right? Because I've had situations where a new character is introduced and the players go, "Hey, man, we don't trust you," especially if they play a drow or something, or they walk into the party, "Hi, I want to destroy the big bad evil guy as well," and we go, "But you're a fucking drow, dude. We're lucky we don't kill you on sight," So,
Yeah.
so this player tends to have a little more in-depth background than the average player would. So, if you don't want to make it completely like cheese, then whatever his ultimate goal is should tie in somewhere. Should tie somewhere into the long term of whatever our long term goal is.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to go about it, because any goal that's short of if this is if Strahd is here, right, like the penultimate like goal or whatever,
right,
and you give him a short term goal that ends here, he's going to have no motivation to do this, right? It's the same thing with my current campaign, and some of the characters have a shorter term goal, and I keep asking in the beginning, give me a long term goal, so I'll tie it in here on some level, right? That way they don't go, "Oh, I'm done, bye," and they kind of go away. Try to tie it into a longer term goal. It doesn't have to necessarily be the death of Strahd, but if the death of, let's say the death of Strahd has an influence on the land, like I assume for a second he dies and the land starts flourishing or whatever.
Yeah.
If he's playing a druid, I believe that's enough motivation to have him want to align our goals together, right?
Yeah, I'd say that the long-term goal and short-term goal is I've come up with quite a bit of tie-in for him that would give him ample reason to want to align his motivations. I guess it's just kind of planting those seeds is what I need to do, and doing that in a way that's subtle yet it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's convincing, I suppose, enough to motivate one to to suspend their disbelief and be like, you know what, yeah, let's hang out with these 3 strangers I never met. You know what I
mean? Right. So what I generally do in that situation, like, okay, we'll take my game for example. So Kyle, Boris came in late in the game. The character named Boris came in late in the game, probably 4 or 5 sessions in. You guys were already traveling to the city of Leskin, which is a city of Forgotten Realms, for those of you that aren't familiar with D&D. And I asked him to tie in, and he's never played, so he gave me a very basic sort of background about his father being killed in a coup in a little town, a little fort town they were at, blah blah blah. So I go, okay, what do I do with this, right? So he literally has no tie-in. He didn't read the adventure log, as far as I know. So already one, he didn't do what I asked. I'm not very. I don't think I'm that demanding of a DM, but
no, I'm not that demanding at all.
So what do you do? This player is a good dude, right? We both like Boris.
Yeah.
Which is, being a good dude, being a good player, as a person, is far more important to me. But so we rolled the punches. You kind of figure out what motivates him, this and that. So he gave me a very short-term kind of goal. So I look at that and I go, okay. I don't have an actual. He didn't name me an actual person or a villain or an antagonist. So now I have the option to create that antagonist. So now that antagonist is tied into the group that the players are currently searching after, right? So now he's tied in for the short and long term, right? Then when he gets to Leskin, he realizes that stuff for his Church of Bahamut, has gone astray, as all the clerics that have been there have been killed by another group that they rivals with the Cult of the Dragon, which also have a stake in there. So now he has a short-term goal while he's there and a long-term goal to help the party. See what I'm saying? So
yeah, I feel you.
It keeps him involved, because if you just give a long-term goal all the way to the end, players, especially new ones, get really tunnel visioned, and they'll go, well, I don't want to do any of this other stuff. I just want to get to here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So now I gave him an avenue, but now that tie-in, that plot hook, now needs. You guys later on found out that plot hook is required for you guys to continue on on the path that you guys wanted to go, right? So now his plot hook becomes important, right?
Right, exactly.
Which should involve him more into the story. So, I would say long term, like have a goal long term that it doesn't match up exactly, has whether the after effect will sort of bring their sort of paths together, and then a short term goal that will immediately bring him into the group, as far as to make him interested as a player. And this player will feed off that stuff. This player, as you know, tends to require a little more detail than others. Yeah. So anything like that, he's going to feed off of and enjoy. Does that answer your question?
It does answer my question, actually. I still have to figure out the details, but yeah, that helps quite a bit.
The method by which you do it still can be contrived, but that would be up to you. I mean, us as experienced players, I think I have the most experience than this player bringing in a character. Right. We're not the kind of players that they're going to go, this is totally cheese, whatever. Yeah, we're going to go, oh, okay, come on into the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I never really got or was worried about that too much, but I guess when you have like high standards for yourself and for your story, like you want to make everything flow well and all that good stuff. And
right.
I'm not saying like my campaign's like the king shit, but I definitely want it to be fun for everyone. And I know that a Lithian is a very, like, the player that plays a Lithian is very detail oriented, and he likes knowing this stuff, and he wants his character's footprint on the world to be tangible, and I want that to be something that I do well for him, because I want him to enjoy it. He's taking time away, like thanks to you, you fucking got him to freaking realize the shittiness of his other party, and now he's going to become one with Strahd's minions. No, I'm just kidding. But I actually had a really cool idea for his old character that I think would be interesting to tie in. It'd be pretty cool. We'll see what happens though.
I'm actually responding to this player right now in our group chat. He called me.
Oh, did he? Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm responding saying I'm online with you right now.
Yeah. Come fucking join the chat, bro.
Yeah. As long as you know who your audience is, so you're not going to have to do this much work with Boris's player.
Right.
But you will tend to have to do this more work with this Lithian's player because of that reason. Um, I, on the other hand, understand where you're coming from. So I, as a player, will play the character, maybe a little suspiciously, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna torpedo the him joining the group just for
Just
just
for
for
the
that
sake of role playing.
reason.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. there's a there's we should do a later show on this because this is fascinating to me. But the psychology of the psychology of a bad player.
Yeah.
You haven't had that much experience with it yet.
Oh, dude, I
However,
had a pretty
oh, that's right,
fucking
you did. Oh, that's right,
yeah.
you did.
I had like the worst first time DMing experience that like I think anyone could possibly ever have.
Well,
I mean, okay, maybe I shouldn't exaggerate
I
too
may
much.
challenge you on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you have horror stories that could easily make this look like a fucking walk in the park, but
Yours is pretty
oh
bad.
my god, dude, it was really bad. Like, it's just like I told them so
I
many
love it.
times like in advance. I was like, okay, so this is the theme, this is the tone, and then they
Right.
go into it like fucking Monty Python style, and I'm like, that's fine. Like I wanted everybody to have fun. If that's the kind of game I want to play, maybe I should find a new campaign, but man, dude, that was just so awful. So I'm incredibly grateful to have you guys to play with because if I had to fucking try like learning how to DM with those clowns, dude, I would have given up so long ago. I would have given up so long ago. It's like
Well,
you introduce them and they're like, "Let's kill them, guys."
your
Like,
only two experiences was Adventure League, and then these guys, before me, or in the group, and the other players, and
yeah,
so it's quite a contrast. I think when you were playing,
seriously.
when you went to do the Adventure League that one time, and you said,
Mhm.
"Hey, do you guys want to do Adventure League for fun?" And the Lithium's player and I were like, we'll watch. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. It
Because
was
we
yeah.
sort of knew what to expect because they sort of introduced something like that in fourth edition.
Mhm.
And so, part of us were curious about how you would react to it, right? Because you played a session of mine, a
Yeah, I
session
played
or
a
two at that
session of
point.
yours first.
Okay.
That was the first experience of D&D that I had was playing with you guys, and I'm glad that it was because if I had gone into it playing like the Adventure League, I may have been like, you know what, this isn't that great. This is kind of
Right.
boring. Well, it's not. It wasn't boring, but it certainly wasn't anything like playing in your own campaign. It was just like
Oh.
it was like the definition of shoehorned, cheesy, run-on storyline like plot. Like you're in a place and these people do this and you did this for them and then suddenly this happens and then that happens and you're just like,
Right.
oh, okay,
Yeah, Adventure
sure,
League isn't really designed for role playing. It's basically like those old video games where you move to those old side scrollers. You move from left to right, and then
yeah,
you
yeah.
fight the guys that come, and then you really have nowhere else to go. Just kind of
Mhm.
follow the path, and they throw stuff at you. But
You just try and do whatever the fuck you want, basically. And it doesn't
right,
work.
right. I mean, so I hope that answers your plot hook question.
I'd say
And
so. At least it helps to shed some light on different viewpoints
yeah,
on it and like ideas and stuff. And I mean, thinking back on like the whole Boris thing, like that was probably a significantly harder fucking plot tie-in for you than
that was hard.
Lithium's character or player. You know what I mean? He puts a lot of effort into his backstory, and we've talked about a lot of details.
Right.
And I think I'll have no problem like tying it in an effective way. But of course, you want to think things through. You want to know, okay, so this is my game plan, just so that you're not like having to wing it and then having to come up short in your execution because you didn't give it much thought. Um, but I'm sure it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Well, the layering of plot devices when you have players that stagger into the group is super challenging. But when you have four players that write four different backgrounds and they start the game and everybody expects to come into the I can't say everybody, but players like the Elythian player will expect a little more in the as a tie-in, right? Because the more
Mhm.
experienced you get, if you're a role player or if you're looking for a role playing style game,
Yeah.
being railroaded is the last thing that you kind of want to have happen, right? I mean,
Mhm.
especially if you're going in. I mean, unless you know you're going into a game that's like that, right? If you go play Adventure League, you know what you're going to get. But
Yeah.
but he wrote a very extensive background,
He did.
right?
Yeah.
The Rogues player didn't write as detailed a background.
Mhm.
It wasn't that it was any less in length. It was not as long, but it wasn't short. But it
Mhm.
allowed me to fill in the empty spots because he was new himself, right? That's only his second
Right.
or third game. Um, it was kind of worked out beneficially because it allows me to make the villains of the game, right? I
Yeah.
actually continued his story. So the players themselves have a background. I know kind of what I want to do.
Mhm.
The players themselves, I got a player A and player B,
Mhm.
a rogue and a scion, and they have way different backgrounds. So now I got to figure out how to tie these two guys together, right? Because I only had two players at the time,
Mhm.
and so it became kind of easy, right? So what I normally do is the person that has the most detail, right? I mean, significantly more detailed, ends up becoming not necessarily the backbone, but it's easier to tie the less specified one into this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Exactly.
I can make his or these villains have some tie in with this with because he didn't specify anybody, so I can do that. And it's sort of a long-term plot type of deal. But so they became, since they didn't have any reason to be friends, they were so different that
Yeah.
they became allies out of necessity, right? Which sometimes you have to do. You have to be allies to survive sometimes. Um, and then
Oh
you came
shit.
along and then you wrote this, and then like the third session. So I was like, I had this thing completely lined up, right?
Mhm.
And then you come in, I was like, holy shit! Now how am I gonna fit a Dragonborn into this?
Yeah. The Dragonborn fucking fighter.
But
For
yeah,
Goonies.
and so it just seemed kind of fitting, and you were very gracious. I don't know if it was from just kind of wanting to play the game or not being a pain in the ass, asking questions and stuff, but you were
Right.
gracious enough to roll with the plot punches per se. And I came to you and I said, hey, do you mind, at the time being a part of this NPCs group. And originally, like I said, I had it in my head. There was a skill challenge
Mhm.
where they were going to wrestle. There was an encounter where they had to ask an NPC for help, and
Mhm.
they had to, through a skill challenge to figure out information, or she was a wrestler, a grappler type, and they
Mhm.
could physically wrestle her. So what I decided, since you were there and you described your character in such a way, I decided to put you in that role, which you were cool with, right? And
Yeah.
ended up
Oh,
being
it
this,
worked out very well.
it ended up being this epic, cool brawl between you and the other character, which you won, right? Very close. You
Yeah.
had one hit point left, and
And one hit point left, and I beat
you
him.
headbutted him or something, or you
Yeah.
kicked him.
Exactly. And then Bud never forgave me
Right,
because
right,
like I fought him like 2 or 3 times since then, and every time I win, it's just so funny. He hates
right.
it.
And so you were gracious enough to become involved in the plot, and you were like, your character was lawful good at the time and wanted to do what was right, and this
Yeah.
and that. So I needed something greater for you,
Yeah.
um, something that's going to speak to the heart of your character, that's going to get you emotionally invested, because you don't want a mechanical investment, right, in a role playing type game. You want an emotional investment from a player in a role playing type game. So.
Mhm.
Um, by virtue of how things went, I introduced the character of Eisendor, which ended up being a major villain in my campaign, which you really, really, really hate.
We could like have a whole episode just about Eisendor, where we talk about like how insignificant characters can become massive villains.
We could do a whole show on villains, just in
Yeah.
general, how to create them, either organically or write them ahead of time, or how to make a good antagonist for
Right.
players.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you know, uh, there's a ton of topics that we could just shoot the breeze on.
Definitely.
And so by virtue of that, now you have a longer tie into the story as well. And as
Right.
the story develops, believe it or not,
Mhm.
I don't always have everything written out to the very, very, very end, right?
Oh,
Sometimes,
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
yeah, as the story goes on,
Mhm.
there's times where I'm figuring stuff out, right? Like, well,
Yeah,
shit,
yeah.
how do I get Boris this? How do I get Boris that? Like
Mhm.
there, and so a lot of it is, we'll go home. We play every 2 weeks on my game, and so I'll go
Mhm.
home. I'll think about it. And I was like, oh yeah, and then like,
Oh yeah, that
the
moment.
next 3 or 4 sessions are tend to be planned out, in that sense. So, um, sometimes by nature of how I run my games, things can come out in blocks, but hopefully, it all seems organic and it seems, like
It
it's
is
all.
organic.
It is organic, yeah. I mean, it's not like I didn't write it, but
Well, like it's crazy because like I don't know, it's it just kind of you've done a very good job of tying all the backstories together, and sometimes even I'm just like, oh fuck,
I
that's
love your expressions,
brilliant,
by the way.
that's brilliant.
It's
Like it
so
just
worth it to see your expressions, dude. It's like you
oh
should
man,
put a camera just on your face, like, and then
oh
play them
man.
back to you at the end of the game.
Yeah, there. If we recorded like our facial reactions to certain things, like there would be a whole like compilation of just like me going like, oh, like I'd just be freaking out and like fucking
They
just
keep
losing my shit.
sometimes. Okay, if anyone watches this, I'll use post like little note cards to pass notes to players, and um, I'll write notes to them, and well, I guess I can call you Corey because that's on your name.
Yeah, yeah, you
Like
can go
they
ahead and call
see
me
it
that.
um, when I write stuff to Corey, he has like he these really emotional facial expressions, and it kind of looks like a lot. Okay, if you ever bought a scratcher and you won like $10, that look on your face when you
Yeah,
win, oh, $10,
yeah,
that's the
exactly.
kind of look you get sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's really cool. It's really fun. I feel in a role playing game, in a heavy role playing game like I play, emotional responses are what invest you, right? Mechanical responses
Mhm,
are fun, doing
mhm.
damage is fun, or whatever. All that stuff's fun, but without an emotional tie-in, it gets really boring. It's just Adventure League at that point. So,
Right.
um, if you only knew the epicness by which you're in game, if you live that long,
Mhm.
it's just I keep saying it, but like I really want you to get there. I don't want you
Yeah.
to
Oh
die.
man.
I
Oh
don't
dude, I
want you to
know.
die, but
I
I have
like
contingency plans if you
God.
do die.
Yeah, I wish that there was a guarantee that I my character would make it there, but that's part of the excitement is not knowing. But it's fucking it's a lot of fun because every combat encounter I'm just like, oh fuck, dude, this could be it. And we've had a lot of moments like that.
Yeah.
And you're right. The emotional investment really is what gets you super into it. And I have to admit that I am definitely emotionally invested into my character at this point. Um,
It would be a big
I
bummer if he died.
it would be such a bummer that if he died, that I would probably just like write another character with like the same
The
background.
same
I'm just
history.
kidding. He's like,
it would
I'm a Dragonborn too. Like, I don't know
it would
what.
be a it would be a Hodor moment.
It would be a Hodor moment, yeah. But I don't. I mean, as much as it would pain me to not see through that character's backstory, I would very happily create or come up with a new one. I
Right.
mean, it's part of the fun, but man, I,
Right.
I can only imagine the shit that you have in store. And I just hope that we make it there. God damn, dude, we haven't played in your campaign for a good minute. I was hoping we could play tomorrow, but I guess Matt is unable to make it. But I'm more than happy to continue doing Strahd. Strahd is
Names, Corey. Names.
oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, fucking
That's
well,
that's why I mischievous heathen, bro.
the mischievous heathen, yeah. Well, fucking, I just think that I just think that once we finally get everybody into the fold on either campaign, like stuff's gonna start happening because there's a lot of cool things happening in both games right now.
Well, things will be easier because we have our schedule back online.
Yeah.
So let's take a hot minute to focus on the other topic that I put it in the title, so now we
Hmm.
have to talk about it. But
Yeah.
Rangers.
Yep.
Rangers have been a hot topic in fifth edition since the start,
Hmm.
and the reason being is because they are viewed as underpowered.
Right.
And in the late game, they are not. I mean, in fourth edition, you didn't play. Each class had a role, right? And that role was either leader, uh, striker, leader, defender, controller. That's what it was. And you fit in the and so Rangers were really damaging.
Yeah.
And
Busting
so
out my player's handbook right now.
yeah. So Rangers, the biggest problem with Rangers is that their abilities are always very situational. That with, and that's always been kind of a problem with how their favorite enemy works. And that kind of thing. And when you look at like their paladin, which probably would be their closest comparison,
Okay.
There's no divine smite for them. You know what I mean? So
I feel you.
by the way, I'm getting a lot of background noise from you. Are you like doing dishes or something?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just going through the pages of my book. Is it when I turn the pages? Do you hear that?
I don't know. It's like clacking in the background or something.
Clacking in the.
Yeah,
it might be my chair. Sorry.
Oh,
my chair is a bit noisy.
So anyway, we don't have a divine smite. So Rangers have always been sort of at the mercy of the DM. So we pick. That's when we pick a terrain. In 5th edition, we get special abilities, and forest is kind of what I pick because being a wood elf. But if we're in a city like we are in my game, then we're hosed for that stuff. So, but was it channel divinity, whatever the smite thingy is.
It's channeled. Well, there's channel divinities, and then the divine smite is like almost. It's almost like totally different from the channel divinities. It's like its own thing.
Yeah. Okay. The smite is the one that does the bonus damage, right? The 2d8 or whatever.
Exactly. It's just passive bonus damage you can use to consume.
So we don't. Right. So the second thing is with Rangers, the hunter and the beastmaster. The beastmaster is very underpowered until certain levels, and then you have to sort of take 2-up in fighting to sort of gain any sort of semblance of usefulness. So there's a lot of drawbacks of being a ranger. Now, rangers have always been one of my favorite classes because I like having the hit die of a fighter, but I hate playing like big lumbering metal guys. I've always liked to play either. In second edition, I only played rogues because I like playing smart fighters. I like guys with stealth and that don't rely on a giant AC and big weapons necessarily. No offense.
No, none taken.
No offense to Darkethus or or any other like big wielding or any other big wielding characters. So the Ranger fixes have been in the works for months, and Wizards of the Coast released several. They released a new Ranger, and then with their Unearthed Arcana, they had several other Ranger options. And so, but in this one, I'm playing the Hunter Ranger, and
you're playing the Hunter Ranger. Got it.
Yeah, I'm looking at that's your standard PHB because you wanted PHB stuff for balance, this and that, and familiarity. So
you can use other published material too. Like I'm not going to keep you from using other published material.
No. But this is like Unearthed Arcana shit. So
yeah.
It's just that people are like not people, but like Wizards is releasing, but it's just not in a book. So
yeah.
it's a little hard to keep track of.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, the philosophy that's kind of pervasive throughout my game is I want to make sure everyone has fun. You know what I mean? And I try to make it so it's balanced at the same time to the best of my abilities. And I thought that using published campaign material would, or published just published material period would be a good kind of prerequisite to ensure that things are all even keel. But I don't know, like if as a player, like you see something that really, really motivates you to like want to play that, like if you're like, because I mean, you know how I am. We fucking practically created my own archetype for me, which is different than playing like a different class. But I mean, there's on Arcana stuff that I'm sure are comparable that I wouldn't want to keep you from playing if that was something that you really wanted to do.
I'm completely dissatisfied with this whole game because I couldn't play an Arcana archetype. No, I'm good. I mean, my character, I'm fine. I don't
fucking beast, dude.
I don't have to, it's there's a couple of variations, right? I think they released one with a variant ranger that had 2d6 hit die, and it didn't gain any spells or something. And then there was a version that had like that were sort of like the fighter battle master where they had maneuvers or some shit like the superiority die.
Yeah.
Then they released there's one that was released where the you picked a sort of like an animal, a spirit companion, and what happens is that you There's a bear, and there's bear, stalker, and something else.
Hmm.
And what happens is like the bear one, for example, when you
Yeah.
activate it, like it gives you 2d6 plus your wisdom mod and 10 hit points like every round or something.
Right.
Um, and then there's one that allows you to have like advantage on attacks. And then there's one that like every time you get hit, you deal as a reaction. Your
Hmm.
spirit animal companion deals 2d6 plus your wisdom and damage back to them. So you're constantly they're hitting you, they take damage. You hit, and having a reactionary damage is so fucking huge. Like I would have easily took that one, right? Because
Hmm.
over Colossus Slayer, because like I get hit, they take damage.
Yeah.
Okay, versus like an extra D8, 2d6 plus 3. So
Right.
um,
1d8 or 2d6 plus 3. That's I mean that's a no-brainer, dude.
right. So it was.
What did you
Um,
end up choosing? You went with
I took
Colossus Slayer?
Yeah, because it was the one out of the book, and so
The Hordebreaker seems pretty good though too.
Hordebreaker would be awesome actually, but you can't use that other attack. You have to use it on a different enemy, and so I didn't want.
Oh, got it.
There was only two of us or three of us in this group currently, so I wanted to make sure that I had enough to like kill whatever needed to be killed.
Yeah, the single target DPS is probably really helpful. It probably
Okay, so
was the extra little bit you needed to kill that
so
fucking down.
yeah, it's from the Unearthed Arcana. I'm sure you guys can find it online. Oh
Mhm.
yes, so it's 2d6 hit points. Um, and your spirit companion. All rangers get a spirit companion, and the ability to invoke its magical power.
Mhm.
Once per day, as a bonus action, you can command your spirit companion to materialize as a living creature. So you get it once per day. So it's basically if you want something to die really badly, it manifests as an
Yeah.
animal for 1 minute or until concentration is broken.
Damn,
But
that
you can
seems
just
a lot better than the basic
well,
ones.
maybe not because if I can do it once per day, I can do that D8 like every time basically every once a turn. So
That's yeah, you can do that once per turn. And comparatively, you can only use the other thing once a day. So that does objectively make it better, if you ask
yeah,
me. Because I
yeah,
mean, if you look at how the combats have been going right now, with hold on a second.
yeah. Well, you're putting us through the ringer. So
But yeah, I mean, right now you guys are going through the ringer because you're in the fucking you're in the shit house. So
right, and so we, so there were a lot of views on the ranger. I think we did. I don't know if I pretty sure I discussed this with you, but
mhm.
um, I think that the Hunter's Mark spell, which is a first level spell for rangers, and they're basically their damage buff, that
Yeah,
should be an ability, a class ability. That should not be a spell because it burns up a spell slot, which takes a bonus action and it's concentration. So
mhm.
especially melee rangers are going to suffer
Yeah,
whenever
melee
they get
rangers are
hit.
gonna suffer.
Um,
Yeah,
it
it
should
is a bit tough.
it should work. That should be whatever like the smite ability for them. They should be able to activate it. Um, a certain number of times a day or whatever the case may be. Or I don't know. I wouldn't say burn a spell slot for it because then that's the same as casting it. I mean, but
Right.
it should be like use it. You know, I don't know, as many times as your wisdom mod or something. Like I don't know. There should be it should be some sort of class ability. I think, but
Yeah.
to burn a spell slot for it is just gooberish because it takes concentration. So now you can't cast other
Other
spells.
spells. Yeah.
Right, and it's just But all in all, I mean, I think my ranger is doing well.
Dude, your ranger is kicking ass, dude.
I know, and
Fucking
there's
kicking.
there's actually I was actually going to ask you to a question about my character. I'll do it offline, but it was a little modification of my character. I wanted to get your opinion on it, but so rangers overall, don't even stack up. I mean, if you look at tiers that people will do power tiers for classes, and Beastmaster Ranger is always at the bottom. It's in the bottom with like Warlock and that kind of thing, and Hunters are like tier 3, they would say, sometimes tier 2, depending on who you ask, because they can hold their own with damage, but they don't have the other things that make them. They don't have the burst of the Paladin, right? And Paladins
Mhm.
have lay on hands, which they use as a bonus action. So
Right, exactly.
I have to pull back and go cure wounds, and waste an action for it,
Exactly.
Well, I can still attack with my bonus action, but still.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, can't forget about that. Fucking definitely don't have that going for me. So it's almost like a role reversal. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have to consume an action and a spell slot to do it, but that's the benefit of being a paladin. Like you wear heavy armor, you make things die, you blow them up, and you heal stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
but the question would be, what is the balancing factor between rangers and paladins?
if you were to try and compare them, I think that they serve different roles. I think that as a ranger, you definitely have the DPS potential to go toe to toe with a paladin, but you're obviously disadvantaged because you don't have the armor that they do, and you may even do slightly less if you are comparing it to their divine smite, which I believe can only be used once a day. Or no, I think it's
No, you burn a spell slot.
burn a spell slot. That's what it was. So I mean, it's hard to really compare them in my mind because I don't know enough about
Well,
the ranger, so it's hard for me to really objectively compare the two. But yeah,
well, they definitely have different roles. You're right there, but the role of the paladin, it can be used in every. When you have, I like classes that don't rely strictly on combat abilities, right? But the difference being is that combat's going to happen in D&D. That's
yeah,
just part of the game, generally speaking. So an ability like the smite, right? You have that at all times, in all situations, right? Natural explorer is not going to help me when we're being, prison raped by five shadows, right? Or
right, right,
you
right.
know, primeval awareness isn't going to help when we're stuck fighting a shambling mound in a dungeon. You know what I mean? Like
But you
those.
can detect up to 6 miles away aberrations, celestials,
Yeah,
dragons, elementals, fays,
yeah, it's
fiends,
great.
and undead.
And we're in
They don't
Ravenloft.
reveal the number of them or their location, but you just know they're there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. in Dungeons and Dragons, just assume there's monsters outside the city. In fact,
Yeah, exactly. You don't
you know,
need primeval awareness to be able to assume that
if
there's a
you're
fucking monster about to eat your face sitting around the corner in the dungeon. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you're in Luskin, assume the monsters are in the city.
right, exactly. All around you, surrounding you.
But yeah. So I like I said, I like the stealth aspect of Rangers.
Yeah,
Um, I hope my character, I definitely keeping up with damage, if not surpassing
I
the
think you've done the
paladin
most damage
or fighter.
easily.
But yeah, yeah, for sure. I think
I mean, Woody's giving you a run for your money though.
mm,
He fucking had that massive crit on the Shambling Mountain. It was like 30 damage.
he
That was
did
pretty insane.
he did 33 damage on that crit, and
Yeah, and
then
then
and then I hit the next round for 27, and then I hit the
oh
next
yeah,
round, and then I hit the next round again for 23, and he
oh
missed.
yeah, that's right. You did like insane damage. That's right. You hit him for like 60 points of damage, I think total.
And then this last game, he hit I think 2 or 3 times, and he rolled 10 damage for one, and I think like 12 or 13 for the other. But he missed every other time beyond that. And if I
Yep, that's
recall,
right.
I killed everything else that game except for one or two things. So I'm all I don't know. I mean, I think the potential's there for sure. The potential he will always, and if he uses smite, he'll surpass me in damage for sure. But I think we're up there. I think he has more burst. I have more consistency.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely does the burst damage. That's for sure. He's kind of like Wells Deep, but it's going to be interesting to see how fucking Elythian, aka Druid 2.0, or Alucard 2.0, I should say, is going to fit into that dynamic because you're going to have like another fucking source of DPS, and I'm going to have to take that into consideration because you guys are fucking almost level 4, and you're going to have a
I
fourth
can't.
member soon.
I can't wait for level 4.
What do you get at level 4?
Well,
Oh, you're excited to talk about it. I can tell.
my 17 becomes an 18, and my 15 becomes a 16.
Oh, you get a
And
stat bonus, huh?
yeah, and then I get. Do I get? Oh, I don't get second level spells.
You
So
get ability score improvement, and then you get your spell slots for first level spells. Actually, they stay the same. You have the same amount as level 2 or level 3, excuse me. You just get your ability score improvement, and then
yeah,
I guess
but you understand. So my dex will be 18 at that point. So I'll have
yeah,
I'll have a +1 initiative, +1 to AC,
plus
plus
1 initiative. That's it.
No. Plus one. I'll have plus four total.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I'll have plus four initiative. I'll gain the plus one to AC,
Uh-huh.
right? So I'll have that plus the cloak, which is plus two, so I'll have a 16. Then when I buy studded leather, I'll have 17. And I also get a plus one to hit because I'm dex based.
Right, right.
So for me, that 18 is very big.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty huge for sure.
That's a big level for me. And then the level after that, I get two attacks, with my main hand, and then one with my bonus, and then I get second level spells. So the next two levels are very important for me if I live.
I think you'll live. I think that you guys will have a good chance to make it out of your
Don't say
current
that.
situation alive. But then again, I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
You're the DM.
Yeah.
It's not like you know what's going to happen.
I mean,
But
I do know what's going to happen, and it does concern me a little bit. But we'll see what happens.
we'll see what happens. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. How long have we been on?
I don't know. I can't tell. It's been
About an hour?
maybe. It's hard to say. I kind of lost track of time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think before we stray too far off topic, we should probably close it up because we'll dip into other topics and there's plenty of other shit to talk about. So,
Word.
I think it's about an hour. So thanks, Corey, for showing up. Interesting avatar. My nerd brother, Corey. We'll do more. There's no time schedule. It's when we want to shoot the shit, talk about D&D. And of course, anyone that views this video, feel free to ask questions or suggest topics, whatever and whatnot, and we'll go from there. This is not for views. This is for us being nerds and for the love of the game. So,
exactly.
That's pretty much it. Have a great day, everybody. Corey,
Alrighty.
by the way, it doesn't end when I end the broadcast, so don't hang up.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thanks for having me on your show. That's so fucking awesome. I definitely want to do some more of these. So
yeah, they're fun, right?
Hell yeah, they're fun. So we'll talk some more D&D stuff later, I suppose. But at least that's the end of the broadcast. Sorry, guys, we're gonna have to keep the rest on the hush hush. But
yeah, we'll come up with a sketch. We'll come up with some sort of topic list, maybe, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
we got nothing. We're just like, let's just talk about shit. Why not? So, everybody, thanks for showing up. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.